All right, take a look at this right here. So I grew peppers in their very first year, and I compared them against overwinter peppers that I saved, grew through the winter, and just look at how much bigger the harvest is. The first year peppers yielded 261 peppers over the course of the season, and the overwinter peppers yielded 540 peppers. But the even bigger thing for me is that for the first year peppers, I didn't get my first harvest until the beginning of September. And for my overwintered peppers, those I was harvesting for the first time in May, which meant that I was actually able to enjoy peppers all through the summer. So in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through exactly how to go about overwintering your peppers to get a way bigger harvest next year. And the very first thing that we need to do is get them out of the garden. And the reason why this is so important and time sensitive is because if we don't get them out of the garden, the cold weather, all the rain is gonna kill these plants really quickly. So to remove them from the garden, simply measure 6 inches off of the main stem. And then with your hori-hori knife, go ahead and just dig all the way around the plant. Then once you've done that, simply go ahead and yank it out. Woo. And you're gonna do the exact same thing whether they're in a grow bag or in a raised bed. And on that note, I actually just finished running an experiment where I compared growing peppers in a raised bed versus grow bags. In the raised bed, it yielded only 37 peppers. In the 3-gallon grow bag, it yielded 139 peppers. The 5-gallon grow bag yielded 261 peppers. And lastly, the 10-gallon grow bag yielded 361 peppers from just 4 plants. So if you haven't tried growing peppers in a grow bag, definitely consider it for next season. All right, so we've got the peppers out of the bed, but we can't actually just put them straight inside because there's 2 things that we really need to be aware of. The first is the amount of space that we have, and the second is pests. So getting started with the spacing concern, obviously when it comes to growing indoors, we're in a way more constricted and confined area, and we only have so much space underneath our grow lights that we can be putting plants, so we wanna be trying to fit as much in there as possible. Therefore, this is gonna be heartbreaking, but what we need to do is actually prune these back almost all the way down to the bottom. So all that you're going to do is basically trace the main stem up the plant, and what you want to do is at least leave 1 or 2 nodes where new growth can come out of. So all that I'm going to do is basically right up above this node here where it's splitting, I'm gonna go ahead and chop this entire side off. I know, it hurts. And I'm also gonna go ahead and chop this entire side off right here. And if you wanted, you could leave this on, but I like to actually remove all of that. All right, let's move on to the second one here. So as mentioned, we're gonna follow the main stem going up the plant. We're just looking for nodes like this. So this one, I'm gonna prune even harder. I'm gonna go off of right here, remove all that. I'm gonna go off of right here, I'm gonna remove all that. And believe it or not, yep, I'm gonna go right there on the middle here. And this one, same thing. I'll go ahead and I'll remove this one right there. All right, so that's what we're left with. I know it's a little bit scary and daunting, but believe me, every time I've done this, the more that I prune off, the better the plant does. And then over here, last one. Now the second thing that we need to address before we begin moving them inside are the pests. And obviously they've been growing out in the garden where there's all kinds of life out here, and that could be buried in the soil here. So what you wanna do is grab your hose, put it onto the shower setting, and really give this a good rinse. I'm gonna try and get all of the dirt out of there. And I'm also gonna wash the entire top of the plant. Now let's turn up to jet setting just to see how that goes. I'm gonna start away from the plant. There we go. Now that's what we like to see. Beautiful. All right, so it's now extremely unlikely that there'd be any pests in there. We'll now do it for the rest of them. Perfect, so these babies are all cleaned up. It's time to now move them into their new home. And for that, we're of course gonna be utilizing seed cells. When it comes to overwintering peppers, without a doubt, my favorite size is to go with a 6-inch seed cell. So I've got these 4 right here. I'm actually gonna pop them right on here. And next, I'm gonna fill them up about half the way with seedling mix. And I'm of course going to go with my Mind and Soil version 4.0 seedling mix. This is the one that I've created myself. And the reason why I love it is because it holds onto tons and tons of moisture, which makes it easier for the roots to settle in and grow. And there's tons of compost in there, which is all of the nutrients that they need in order to put on growth. Now, before I pop the peppers into their new homes, it's actually a really great opportunity to tidy up the roots. So all that I'm gonna do is basically just go around the bottom and chop off any of the longer straggly ones so it's a more compact and uniform root ball. Chop chop, haircut time. And from there, all that I need to do now is just pop this baby in there, like so, and then backfill with more seedling mix until we're right up to the top. And as you do that, give it a good shake, because those roots, obviously there's some space between them. We want to make sure that we get that as filled in as possible. And once you've done that, go ahead and give it a nice little compact. And then give it a whole bunch of turkey base of water. This is also going to help reduce any of that air and space between the roots there and get the seedling mix in there nice and tight. So we'll give that a second to start working its way in, and we'll move on to the second one. There you go. So just like that, these babies are all set. Let's now move them inside. Now I could bring them all the way inside, but I actually like to start them in my garage just in case there are any little insects or bugs in there. I'd rather learn that out here than in my seed starting station where I've got other plants already growing. So now that they're inside, there's 3 variables that are going to allow them to settle in and start to grow. And those are light, heat, and water. So on the lighting front, I've brought one of my VivoSun Aero lights out into the garage here. And you could hang it from anything. I'm personally just going to put a couple of hooks into the roof, and the extension ropes on it are super nice and long, so it makes it really easy for me to drop it all the way down to the plant. And in terms of duration, I just plugged it into the exact same automatic timer that I use all through the year, which keeps the light on automatically for 12 hours per day. So lighting's taken care of. The next thing is heat or temperature. And that's where I've also set up my VivoSun space heater in here, because I'm in my garage and the temperatures are about to start getting cold. And what I love most about these heaters is they have this little sensor, and the moment that it gets hotter than the temperature you set, the heater turns off. And then as soon as it drops below that, it turns back on, which A, keeps a really nice and consistent temperature, and B, ensures that you're not wasting a ton of money on electricity. And our third and final piece is watering. So we obviously just did a very traumatic pruning on those plants, both all the foliage and the roots. The best thing that we can do for them to help them settle in is keep the environment nice and warm and keep it nice and moist. So over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks, just ensure that you're keeping this seedling mix nice and moist. That should allow our pepper plants to settle in, establish themselves, and begin to put out their first bits of new growth. And that's the only thing that we're looking for over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks, is a couple of little nodes beginning to show some green growth on them. So with that in mind, let's fast forward a couple of weeks to see how they're doing. Okay guys, so it's 7 days since we brought the peppers inside here, and I want to do a quick update because I'm not seeing any growth on them yet. And I know that at this point it can get a little bit nerve-wracking and start wondering, did I do something wrong? Is there something I should change? But stay patient with it and continue to focus on what I call kind of like the key vitals for the plant. So is it sufficiently warm? Make sure that your area is, again, at least around 20 Celsius, 72 Fahrenheit. If that means you need to be utilizing a little heater, absolutely do so. Do they have water? Make sure that that seedling mix is staying nice and moist. I'm going to do another watering right now. And then lastly, of course, do they have light? Because as soon as those leaves do come out, we want to make sure that they do have light. So when I focus on just those key vitals, I know that these have everything that they need, and I'm going to trust that those leaves are going to begin to emerge. So I encourage you to take the same tact on your end as you get around day 7 to day 10. And now let's fast forward for our next update. All right, guys, we have done it. We are 21 days in here, and I got 2 exciting pieces of information for us. First, we are seeing new growth. So come in here, take a look at this. And as you can see, new leaves are starting to push out through the nodes. That means the plant has survived and it's now going into growth mode, which is exactly what we want. And actually, look at this. On the larger, longer one here, it's barely put out any growth whatsoever. There's a few just at the very top, but it's actually quite a bit behind the ones I pruned back really far. And the reason why is because since I left all of this stem on there, it's trying to keep that alive. Versus these ones down here, it doesn't have to keep as much alive, so it started pushing out new growth even quicker. So I know it can be a little bit daunting to cut them back pretty far, but as you can see here, those ones are actually a little bit ahead. And the second really exciting piece of information is there's no sign of any pests or insects whatsoever. Everything's looking really good and really clean. So what do we do next? And I don't want to leave them in the garage because it isn't heated. It just wouldn't make that much sense to be keeping them out here and running tons of heat. So what you do next is bring them inside into your indoor seed starting station. So let's go ahead and do that. And voila, just like that, they're now settled into their new home. And you're probably wondering, well, what happens from here? And so just before we get to that, I wanted to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, which is VivoSun. They provided me with the grow lights, with the heater, which are the exact things that I've been utilizing for all past years when I've been overwintering pepper plants in order to get them to be thriving. So if you want to get your hands on the exact same grow lights or heater that I'm utilizing, I'll include a link to those down in the description of this video. And if you use the code MINDANDSOIL, you'll get 10% off your order. So over the course of the coming months here, all that we need to do is really keep focused on the vitals. So light, heat, water, and nutrition. Make sure that they have those at all times and they'll put on tons of beautiful growth. You know, in terms of the nutrition piece, you could do a fertilization with something like a 4-4-4 in the early springtime, just to kind of give them a nice little top up of nutrients. Now, what happens from there is that over the course of the coming 6 months or so before we move them back into the garden, you're going to notice that they're going to put on tons and tons of beautiful growth. These are literally going to become little plants inside here. And what's really cool about that is that you can actually start pruning them over the course of the winter time. It's almost like a little bonsai tree, so have fun with how you go about shaping it and allowing it to grow. And then as you get into the new year, kind of like January and February, you're going to notice the first flowers emerging on these plants, and those can be pollinated indoors just by rustling the plant a little bit, and that's going to turn into new peppers developing on these overwintered peppers that you're going to get to harvest right when you're moving them out into your garden, or maybe even while they're still inside if they set early enough. So definitely enjoy that as well. But other than that, you've now got all the information that you need in order to be overwintering your peppers. If you've got any questions, leave those down in the comment section down below. And again, if you want to get your hands on the same grow light or heater that I'm utilizing, then you can grab those at the link in the description of this video. That's all for today, folks. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel because I got tons of experiments coming up. You don't want to miss those. I'll catch you in the next video. See you then.